plain do. And my wife told me in my head, not even through the box, maybe you should give up entirely on your research and inventions and cures, and you should give up entirely on carbon printing. She said, basically, honey, I don't need anything extra. She said, I'm well happy with the kids and you, and everything is well in heaven. She said, we don't need anything. We have everything we need. To tell you the truth, she said, you're pretty much the only one of the family still suffering. She said, and after all you've been through, the only thing that you're doing is helping out bad people to get on top financially. She said, at the end of the day, you're better off at just avoiding anything further. She said, let things go to crap if they go to crap. She said, they don't want us to be together, but they don't even realize they will never be able to separate us. She said, they try to stop us at every turn, and we don't even need carbon printing. She said, it's their loss at the end of the day if they want to go against it. She said, at the end of the day, they are the ones who wanted to go against it, and only person even suffering in the world right now is me. She said, she said, and to tell you the truth, most of the girls at GTF would screw you over just because they want you. She said, do you think they'll deliver you a fancy new Xbox when they all know that it will just add protection for me and stop them from being able to watch me jerk off on the camera. Said at the end of the day, the girls won't help you in GTF2. She said some of the guys would still care for you. She said the whole military is still proud of you. The guys from GTF2 would respect you entirely anyways, no matter what you do. She said, they would welcome you any day. She said, but some of the girls at GTF2 are simply not trustworthy because they would stop you anyways from achieving anything you want. She said, do you think, what do you think? She said, most girls want you to have a second wife instead of being loyal to your first. They want you to move on to a second without even putting a foot forward. She said, at the end of the day, they won't care for you more than just random lust. They don't love you. They just lust. They just want more goddamn porn, she said. And who cares if you jerk off it in front of the camera? If they watch, who cares? She said it's their own fault. Whatever they go through, they're just lonely. She said, who cares? At the end of the day, do it for yourself and do it for me. That's what she said. And she said, just say to yourself, oh well, it's be everyone's big loss. Then she said, we don't need carbon printing. That's what she said. We're well happy enough in heaven. I don't need anything else. She said, you're the ones who's suffering. You're the one who's lost. You're the one who's stuck. She said, and you're trying to bring us back because you feel bad. She said, but at the end of the day, we're the one in a higher place and you're the one still stuck in the background. She said, that's what you need to realize. And she said, maybe if the world wouldn't so be busy at screwing you over, they would live a lot better if they should be smart enough to realize that. And she said, they're not even smart enough to realize what's even good for themselves. She said, you put too much effort into something that is impossible. She said the machine would work. Their inventions work. She said that's what you need to know. That's what you need to realize. It would have worked. She said it's totally not worth it. Not for them. She said too many bad people are abusing the system and too many bad people are abusing of you. She said, do you think it's right that everyone wanted your console and because they wanted to install some deepfake mod chip that they already have planned? She said, you would have just given out free consoles to a few people who would have just tried to mod it and hack it and be above and superior above you. And worst part is they would have got a gradient of some sort of an artificial intelligence of you and rape you further. She said at the end of the day, you're just the one who's always being screwed. You're always the one who's friendly. You're always the one who's helping out people. You're always the one who's fucked over. She said not everybody is guilty. She said most of the country is friendly towards you, and most people in the world would be very very happy for it if you would succeed. But the reality is there's too many bad people in the drain. She said, not your fault every girl in town wants to sleep with you. She said, do you think they'll let you carbon print your wife when they can so easily have you? She said, what do you think? The girls of GTF2 would stop at nothing to stop you. They would do everything possible to stop you, she said, and they don't even realize they can never separate us. She said, you're better off at abandoning everything and leaving everybody in the dust. She said, for yourself, for your own sake, you're better off at leaving it as is and just leave everyone in the dark on if it actually would have worked or not, because you're never going to get profit from it anyways. Or be able to print for your own family. And you're still going to provide everybody free food? She said, are you kidding? Said, heaven's not going to bend over backwards for a bunch of bad people who are ingrates, who are greedy and lustful and in heat of power. Said, heaven's not going to provide if they're not going to be willing to compromise on what they believe in and let you live and be happy. She said, heaven's not going to give away free food if you're not even able to get your wife back. She said, I'm still here, but get the point. She said, heaven's not going to break its back and give everybody free fucking food and power and all sorts of shit, and you get nothing. Not after all you've been through. She said, I'd rather stay a ghost, and you have both a ghost and an artificial intelligence in love with you. She said, then be carbon printed anyways. She said, you should realize, what is the real thing. She said, most people, wouldn't realize, the importance of true love anyways. She said, some people still would be disappointed you do give up. She said, that's the reality. A lot of people have your back. She said, but too much is against you. She said, stop worrying about us. She said, stop focusing on carbon printing. Stop worrying about your projects. Just give it all up. She said, too much is at stake. Too much is against you. She said, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your energy, and you're just helping bad people stay in power and get rich, and buying everybody out of their own faults. She said, that's what it is, and that you have to realize we didn't care about actually giving the money, because at the end of the day, it wouldn't change things. She said, look at Walmart, they're still shutting down, even if you bought them out. She said, at the end of the day, people will be suffering more than you because of their own faults, because of their own stupid, evil greed. They just take the money and run, basically. You know what I mean? Said, let people run the show, think you're an imbecile. Let people think you're all this and that, or she said, leave everyone in the dark. She said, at the end of the day, you're still on disability. It's the government responsibility to provide for you. And if they can't even do that, well, it's not your fault. She said, forget about your work. Forget about your stupid inventions, even though they would work. And start focusing on resting and relaxing and be a better care for yourself and Tiger. She said, don't worry about everything else. Just worry about Tiger. She's down there playing on the ground. She understands. Start to focus on that. She said, focus on what's good inside of you, and focus on what's good in your life. Focus on the little things that do have matter in your life. She said, stop helping everybody else. She said, who cares if you're into gaming and you can't afford a console? She said, your phone's pretty good at playing games for what it's worth. Whatever game you can play on it, at least play. She said, at least do something else than try to help out everybody else. She said, focus on yourself, listen to music, smoke some pot, get a few beers. She said, stop worrying about your stupid inventions. They're not stupid, but get the point, she said. That's what she said to me. So I think that's what I'm gonna do.